Hi, there is a Indian reserve in America, the United States of America, that goes by the name of Pine Ridge. There are all sorts of very good people who live there. One of them is a young man named Clarence Rowland. He has his own story and he will tell it to anybody that wants to hear it. Uh, I'll give you the highlights of it. He is a Sioux. His family has been decimated by alcohol and drug addiction. He is a controlled, in my terminology, alcoholic, drug addict. No, I take that back. I don't know if he was a drug addict, but I do know, in his own words, he was a pretty heavy drinker. And he decided to stop, so he's a controlled alcoholic, in my understanding. And he is part of the fight on his reserve to bring sobriety to his people. It's not an easy fight. But like Don Quixote, he goes on. The difference between him and Quixote, of course, being that Don Quixote fought windmills and Clarence and his friends are fighting real demons and real monsters. Recently, in the last month, they held a referendum on reserve. And they have decided to open up sales and possession of alcohol on reserve. Now, the logic here is not very good, but the ones that said they wanted it said, here's my reasons, or at least some of them did. Right now, the outsiders are selling this poison to us and making all the money, and our people have got all the problems. So instead of that, why don't we sell it to our people? And then with the money we make, we can put up alcohol abuse control centers and rehab centers and develop things to help our people get off alcohol. Am I the only one who sees a little flaw in that logic? As my wife put it, let's see, Brian, they're saying we're going to sell you some poison to make a profit, to put up a hospital so that we can stop you from dying with the poison we're selling you. Is that what they're saying, Brian? And I said to my wife, yeah, I think it is, but, what do I know? I'm just a dumb old white man. Now, Pine Ridge is so bad, let me get on with my story here, is so bad that Al Jazeera has used them as the poster child of the ugly reservation in America. And they've done a couple of shows on it. The last one was Voice of America. I think that's what they called their show. I'll be putting a link to their show underneath this video. Now the problem is that, from my point of view, is that people are confusing issues here. Part of the issue is the historic reality that the American government has been genocidal against the people that lived here before they did. That's a nasty word, but it's true. I mean, the longest running war in American history was not Vietnam, was not World War II, was not World War I, was certainly not the American Revolution or the Civil War. The longest running war in American history was waged against the Indians. Hey, it's what I grew up calling them. I'm going to say Indians. It's known as the Indian Wars. There you go. That was the longest running war, about 60 years long. The Lakota, Clarence's people, are the people of Wounded Knee. You may have heard of that. And that's one of the issues, is the history of genocide, of oppression, of having the land stolen. Everybody's heard it, and nobody's going to get over it because it's something that goes deep into the psyche, and it takes more than oh, gee, this happened, let's get over it, to solve these problems. As one elder put it to me, took us almost 500 years to get into this shit. We ain't getting out of it right away. Well, there you go, it's true. Now, the other issue, the one that is confused here, is who's responsible for all the drunks on reserve? And this is where I'm about to make a lot of enemies. The people responsible for the drunks on the reserve are the drunks on the reserve. That's the truth. I am an alcoholic. I am, folks. Fact of life. You can blame it on my abusive childhood. You can blame it on the fact that I've got Scot and Irish in me, and we all know that they're drunks. You can blame it on anything you want. I am an alcoholic. That's the way it is. Blame it on my parents. Blame it on my brother. Blame it on the fact that Babe Ruth only hit 60 home runs. I don't care what you blame it on. But if I am a drunk, if I'm a falling down, puke on the ground, rolling my own puke, and sleep outside on the sidewalk drunk, that's my fault. That's my responsibility, because I'm the only one that says to my left or right hand or both hands, if I'm ambidextrous, and I am, you will not put that bottle, that glass, that joint, that Coke to your mouth or your nose. You will not do it. And if I say that, I sober up or I straighten up. If I don't say that, I stay a drunk. It's the fact, folks. That's all the way it is. Every fallen down drunk on Pine Ridge is fallen down drunk because he drank. And the only way it stops is for him to want to stop or her to want to stop. Now that sounds very judgmental and rah, 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 but it's true. Now we come to the nice, compassionate part of the storyline. Odds are good they won't do it alone. Odds are real good they're going to need help. I had help. Clarence has probably had help. I haven't talked to him about that, so I'll say probably. 99% guaranteed he didn't do it on his own. Everybody that sobers up, straightens up, does it with help. Maybe it's simply the help of thinking of your grandmother who you don't want to have to look in the eye and say, I'm a drunk. So she gives you the courage to not drink. Or maybe it's you meet a good person and they convince you how worthy you are and how much you deserve better than you're doing to yourself. There's a lot of ways to sober up. I had my way, Clarence had his way. Anybody that sobers up has their way of sobering up. That's just reality. And we're here to help people sober up. We, meaning Clarence, myself, my wife, wherever we live to help, if we're good people. And again, the reasons for helping are as different as the people that help. I doubt very much that my reasons are the same as my wife's, or the same as Clarence's, or the same as my brother's. But we help if we can. So, if you're on Pine Ridge, or in Pine Ridge, or near Pine Ridge, or anywhere else, but this is directed towards Pine Ridge, and you want to sober up, you want to straighten up, there are people there, some of them very quiet, who you would never believe will be there to help you. But there are people there that will help you. There are people there that will drag you down and hurt you. You have to find the desire to stop. You yourself have to. I mean, I'm sorry to say this, but it's up to you. There is nobody but you that can do that. But once you've made that choice, you then have to find the path that'll do it and help you. And it's different for everybody. You may find the red path or the Buddhist path or the Christian path or, Lord knows, the atheistic path to sobriety, the 12-step program of AA, There's a lot of different ways to do it, folks. But until you make the choice, until you decide, none of the paths will make any difference because you won't put your foot on them. And you got to walk to move along a path. Or crawl. Doesn't matter, but you got to start moving along it. And now comes the bad news. If you're like most of us, and I've known very few that haven't done it the same way I did, this will not be a one shot, I'm going to stop, it's over. It'll be stop and start. It'll be I'm going to quit, and I'm good for 2 weeks or 3 weeks and 4 weeks, and then something happens and I go get drunk all over again. And I stay that way for a while, and then I decide to sober up again, and I suppose I did that yo-yo routine half a dozen times. I never did keep count. But now it's been 30 years, give or take, sober and straight. Sometimes it's 30 years by the grace of God and the very fact that in that last second, yet just now, I said no. Temptation never leaves entirely. The gods have got a nasty sense of humor. When I had stopped drinking permanently, at least I like to think it's permanent. It may not be, but it's been 30 years, so it's a good long time. They brought out non-alcoholic beer. Now, I do love the smell of beer. Oh, I do. I'll sit beside somebody that's drinking a beer, and every now and again I just reach over, grab their glass, and take a great big smell, because I love that smell. And single malt scotch. Ooh, good stuff. Love the smell of that, too. But I found this non-alcoholic beer, and I thought, hey, here's something I can use. No alcohol, and I opened a can, and it smelled good. Ooh, and it tasted good, too. But God, or the Great Spirit, or however you want to put it, it's got a nasty sense of humor. Because I had 2 or 3 of those cans of non-alcoholic beer, ended up on the toilet with severe diarrhea. However they make it just doesn't agree with my system. I ended up on the toilet with it every time I tried it. So I couldn't even drink the non-alcoholic stuff. I guess that kept me straight, though, because it would have been a short step from non-alcoholic to alcoholic. In any case, I hope I have offended those who need offending, like the people who buy and sell this stuff to others just to make money off their suffering, the lowest of the low. I hope I've offered encouragement to some of you who are thinking of stopping. And I hope I have honored those who have stopped and who are working very hard on the reserve to help those who need their help. May the gods be with you. Good luck.